Joins us this morning from Capitol Hill as well to talk about the decision. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Before we talk about the politics of it, walk me through your view of the internal argument in the decision, this idea that the mandate, the congressional authority on taxing is very clear, as the justices have ruled.
Well, I think it's a pretty boneheaded decision, and I think we'll try to correct it in the election in November. But the whole idea that the taxing authority appears to be unlimited, according to this court, I don't think is the way it was intended. You know, the Constitution gave Congress a taxing authority, but it also gave it certain limits. Article 1, Section 8 gives about 19 powers to Congress, and I don't remember this being one of those 19 powers. So I think the court has overstepped the Constitution, has wrongly decided this, and I think the American people are going to rise up, and we're going to let the court know, and we're going to let President Obama know what we think of this in November. I think this is fighting words for us, and I think you're going to see a great reaction from the Tea Party and conservative activists across the country.
How personally disappointed are you in Justice Roberts?
Extremely disappointed, and you know, we learn more about justices as we see how they vote on cases, and I'm quite disappointed in it. You know, George Will said that Obamacare, the case against it, was the last exit ramp on the road to unlimited government, and I truly believe that. The Constitution was supposed to limit government. Basically, this court has ruled that the taxing authority really is not limited by Article 1, Section 8, which limits what we're supposed to be doing up here. And so I'm very disappointed in the ruling. But we have a republic that has various forms to try to change policy, and one is through elections, one is through the court, and one's through who's up here. But I think this is going to be, you're going to see a groundswell. You've seen, people have been asking, is the Tea Party over? Wait till you see the reaction from the Tea Party when we fully understand and hear all of this ruling.
Would you not give a nod to the Democrats? You know, the dream of universal health care has been around for decades. They got it through both houses, and it's now gone through the Supreme Court. Would you not give them at least a nod for the direction in which they have fought so hard and sacrificed so much political capital to ultimately get this decision?
I think what worries me most is the unintended consequences of this. CBO has said 20 million people might lose their private insurance and be dumped into these government exchanges, ultimately onto Medicaid. McKinsey Group said 50 to 60 million people. What's the number one thing driving debts in states right now? The cost of Medicaid. This does nothing to control the cost of Medicaid. It's going to dump millions of new people on Medicaid. It's going to be a disaster for the country, and I don't think we can overstate the unintended consequences of what's going to happen when people who currently have private insurance get dumped onto Medicaid. It's going to be a disaster for the country, but you're going to see an uprising. I predict that this will help decide the election in our favor because our people are aghast at this ruling and they don't want to see Obamacare put into place.
Senator, if you will, walk us through and walk our viewers through the exact implications for the states out there that are already facing budget shortfalls in part because of their increased Medicaid expenses. Texas, for instance, has a $46 billion budget shortfall. The number of residents that qualified for Medicaid doubled between 2000 and 2011. That's just one state in this country.
Well, Obamacare says that you can pay a $2,000 fine and dump your your patients who have private insurance can be dumped into these exchanges. So right now it costs about, on average, $12,000 to $13,000 for private insurance for your employees. What's going to stop people from paying $2,000 and dumping them on these exchanges? If you're a company that's struggling, where's the easiest and first place you can now save money? Dump your privately insured employees onto the government insurance. It's going to overwhelm the government insurance, and like you say, Medicaid is the biggest driving factor in state government's budget insolvency. Look at California and Illinois. They can't pay their current Medicaid bills. What are they going to do when Medicaid doubles and triples under Obamacare?
Senator, we're going to hear from the president in a few hours. I think he's going to make an address in light of the ruling, and widely speculated that he will say something like, it's time to move on, right? We've heard that kind of line before after a decision like this, calling it probably the law of the land as seen by a key part of the government. What is the response to that?
I think the response is that you will see the rallies grow. You will see the resurgence of the Tea Party. Obamacare was a big issue for us. And what you're going to see is something that I think will change the complexion of the election. And we're not done with this. By any means, we are not done fighting this.
Senator Rand Paul joining us from the Hill. Senator, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
You know that old ad